A new page, a new leaf in the book.
Indeed, it's now or never for both of these. We're fighting for the champion title of the first stage with a completely black screen. But there we go, jumping into game number 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 5 between VortiX and MarineLorD. The score is currently 2-2. VortiX took the first 2 games off MarineLorD. MarineLorD clapped back, and we may potentially have a reverse sweep on our hands. But introducing our players, who spawn in on the west of the map, we've got VortiX, who is playing as the Rus in the color blue.
And spawning on the right side, it is MarineLorD playing as the Abbasid Dynasty in red. A civilization that came into this tournament, or at least this stage of the tournament, as one of the most powerful open map civilizations. 2 town centers, berries into a fast castle, and then ability to produce siege on the battlefield. All seemed well for the Abbasids, and then the Rus comes in. The civilization that found a counter, really, to this build, because currently, the Rus is basically the counter-civ to Abbasids in this meta.
Yeah, now one of the things I would love to point out, and I'm sure VortiX is going to be very happy when he sees it, have a look at that boar spawn. You could not ask for a better boar right there. It is right in the middle of the map. It is sitting between both of these players, and he is going to be heading out towards this position. A very happy camper is going to put that wooden fortress down in between those two little forest choke points, and he is going to be collecting his boar very happily.
He is going to be super happy with that, as you pointed out. And oh, the micro dance, that was a beautiful move from VortiX. Did you see that? The wolf was at 9 HP, which means that if the 2 scouts from VortiX shoot it once, the final shot will be landed by MarineLorD, thereby he loses the bounty. So what he did is that he only shot it with 1 scout. This means that MarineLorD turned around, shoot it once, putting it down to 3 HP, and then ultimately, VortiX was able to finish it off. Great micro there, such a small detail, but he got that wolf for himself.
Yeah, an extra 25 wolf, an extra 25 wolf in the bank, an extra 25 gold in the bank from that wolf, and he'll be happy that he pushes that bounty even closer towards that limit. Yeah, you can see he's doing a pretty decent job. MarineLorD is of cleaning up the deer hunts around the map over towards the south. He managed to actually spot this one and gets it in. The closer one he's also going to be picking up, and at the same time, the one to the north is going to get picked up. So very, very unfortunate here for VortiX. He's playing on the Rus, but yeah, he's going to be losing out 3 of the 4 hunts completely to his opponent.
Indeed, that's actually a nice comeback, so to say, for MarineLorD. After losing that 1 wolf over there, he's able to take down quite a lot of those hunts. And you see, it's only 130 bounty right now for VortiX. Now, I'm fairly certain that he's going to be able to reach 250 at latest when he gets that boar for himself. But obviously, the sooner you get that gold, the better, because one thing to consider is that the amount of bounty that you obtain heavily influences whether or not you can afford Wheelbarrow and Dark Agent. It looks like Wheelbarrow is going to be coming in here for VortiX, so he's going to be all good with that one. And as you pointed out, that boar in the middle, that's where it's getting interesting. You want to take that boar, but you also want that to be your sort of forward base. And with that boar being right in between the 2 players, that's exactly the perfect staging ground. And look at those berries for MarineLorD, that's not looking pretty.
Yeah, they're on the front line, but fortunately he does have back berries. He's also got back deer as well. So in the event aggression does come out towards that position, he's going to be able to fall back, but take a look down towards this position as well. Plenty of food all around that map. Yeah, VortiX, I'm curious what he knows about the map. Does he know where that 4th deer spawn actually landed? We'll take a look over it from his perspective and see what his line of sight is. And it looks like he spots the berries, but doesn't actually see that 4th deer spawn coming out. So he was probably going to be putting aggression down there, but yeah, I expect. What timing are we going to see these villagers come out?
His sheep.
Oh, why is he killing his sheep? Oh, he needs 5 gold.
Away. Yep.
He needs 5 gold. Oh, all right. Yep. So he takes that and yeah, safely secures that 2nd tier of bounty. Gosh, I've seen many a murderer in my day, but that one in particular makes my blood boil.
Yeah, I imagine that poor little sheep out there. You're just sitting there. Imagine that you are that sheep, just chilling, minding your own business. Finally, a blue scout comes over to pick you up, bring you to greener pastures, and then he just starts stabbing you because he needs 5 gold.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely terrible stuff. Villagers now making their way out across the map. It's going to get picked up immediately by MarineLorD. What shenanigans do we look to see in the middle of the map here? We're going to be turning our attention towards that ball because this is where it comes into play. There could be a look at, or he could be going for a bit of a distraction, something that we can potentially see. You can see that he's got the scout heading in. He's got his bow out as well. He's looking to aggro up the boar. He's done a great job. The boar now going to be turning its attention towards the scouts because the aggro isn't based on the actual unit that aggroes it, just rather it's based on an AoE around it. So unfortunately didn't draw it away, but going to be able to take out a couple units in here. Looks like he is going to get that boar kill, gets that plus 75 gold as well, and climbs towards that 300 limit, or 300 amount.
And look at that hunting cabin. It's even going to incorporate quite a lot of trees from that stealth forest. So there's going to be a nice gold trickle as well. Archer range and a stable will be the response here. The question is, can you get any units out there before the wooden fortress goes up? Because if that wooden fortress is up, you won't be able to push that position. And you see the answer from VortiX. He's adding a knight. That's just a great response to both the archers and the horsemen. Wooden fortress is coming up. This is the position that VortiX wanted to be in. The perfect answer to what MarineLorD has been doing so far.
Yeah, and this is exactly it. My question is, MarineLorD knew this was coming. What's he doing? What is he? He's gathering up stone for a second town center. He's playing it like it's Tuesday on the ladder on a Smurf account, and he thinks his opponent hasn't found the Rust build order yet because the Tuesday that we're talking about is the Tuesday from last week, and nobody knows who Guz is or what the Guz build is.
I feel like he's believing. Because we talked about this before this game right away, that this strategy, this build order that VortiX is using was designed to deal with the Abbasid 2 town center play. So I think what MarineLorD has to believe in, or at least what he has to trust in, is that he can maybe get a second town center going and then prioritize squeezing out an early castle age. Because the only way that you're going to stop that flood of archers is if you get to castle age, get mangonels or men-at-arms, potentially both together. It's still going to be very tricky for MarineLorD because, you see, those berries are so exposed. So VortiX could delay the castle age of MarineLorD quite substantially, and that's all that VortiX needs to do. He wants to play full feudal age here, and that starts with delaying the castle age of MarineLorD.
Yeah, smart move there. Now going to be dropping down that second town center back towards the gold mine. So looking to secure up that gold source as well as the berries. Gets it in between the wood line as well. So a very nice spot there for him. But yeah, this forward base now really coming down. And Blacksmith also getting dropped down in the base here for VortiX. He's got no tickets at all on that golden gate, using it to maximize his efficiency. But a bit of a raid coming in on these berries. Two knights looking to try and make a bit of damage happen. You can see the villagers turn around and say, get out of here, get out of here, get on out. And indeed, those knights do get on out. But the berries, that's going to be the real victor here because they look to see another day.
And Siege Engineering already coming in here for VortiX, so he's not wasting time. He doesn't even have a critical mass of archers right now. We're talking about 4 archers, 3 knights. But he's already grabbing Siege Engineering. He wants to start dropping those rams as soon as possible. Because he knows that, to a certain extent, he's on a timer. He can't really afford to let MarineLorD get to castle age. But I get the feel that MarineLorD is actually playing right into his hands. Because that's a second stable being dropped. And sure enough, you could say, oh yeah, I will just go full horseman against those archers, but no one said that the Rus can only play with mass archers. It really is no big deal for them to add 3 barracks and then start spamming out spearmen to accompany those archers.
Now, speaking of spamming, where's the wooden fortress here for our Rus friend? He is making a bit of a mistake, it seems.
Yeah, that's a little wacky, and you see that the walking distance between that lumber camp and the wood line is also quite significant, so you're losing an element of this death ball, and this is what I was referring to before the game, that in theory, the Rus are capable of beating the Abbasids. And part of the reason why you could see possibly VortiX using up the English in the previous game and trying to bait out MarineLorD's Rus is because he knew that he was going to have a favorable matchup in game number 5. But you can't afford to make mistakes like that in a game number 5 because, as I said, you sort of gambled on this civilization matchup coming into game number 5.
Yeah.
You need to win this, obviously.
And now we can see that VortiX continuing to struggle with his resource management. Interestingly, hasn't invested in that second wooden fortress on the wood line just yet, but has dropped down that lumber camp. So hopefully on this first back from the villagers, he's going to be able to afford another wooden fortress. But we can see the horsemen really starting to build up here. And I got to say, I love the composition coming out from MarineLorD. This is something that he's done with great success in the past, going for horseman camel archer combos. So the question is, what do you think is the best way to play against this build order? or this this composition.
Ooh, that's difficult, because the thing is that you can't really go for cavalry that's going to be debuffed by the camels. You can't really go for mass archers because the horsemen will deal with them. Probably spearman archer mix, but it's really just a matter of reaching that critical mass. That's my best guess here. Now, at least the lumber camp was replaced by VortiX, so he now has a more efficient lumberjacking, but I think he's still lacking that tower, and that is slowing him down quite a bit. MarineLorD hasn't started gathering gold, so he's still far away from Castle Age. And do I see a second stable inside the base of VortiX?
Yeah, this is starting to get a little bit worrisome. He doesn't know the build order, or at least he knows the build order. He's just forgetting a very core component of it. This is, yeah, quite curious, because keep in mind, MarineLorD's got that second town center up. He's a happy camper at this point in time. The longer this game goes on, the more the economy begins to build, and now he's going to be pushing in. MarineLorD actually looking to take control of the game. You can see the horseman numbers just moving in, picking up the reinforcements at the same time. Horseman's actually trading out with the spears, or rather with, oh gosh, I tell you what, it's getting too early in the morning, Lidakor. Take over.
Oh, it's a disaster, because the camels are debuffing the knights. It makes it much more reasonable for those horsemen to take this engagement, and as you see, the horsemen are just swarming the knights. Looks like MarineLorD is going to call off his forces, but I think he could have committed. Only one knight remained, and he could have cleaned up that group of archers. He most likely would have lost most of his cavalry, but this is just, once again, as you pointed out, the happy camper attitude that MarineLorD has. He knows that he didn't have to clean that up, although this might backfire because he left a substantial amount of archers alive. But that was a big win here for MarineLorD, and one of the things I want to go back to here, just for a brief moment, as you pointed out, that VortiX is missing a core component of this build. How much time do you think VortiX practiced this build? Because it's possible he just saw this build from others and he's trying to replicate it. This is a brand new build order with the Rus. It's less than like a week old. So you gotta wonder how in-depth VortiX's knowledge is of this build order here.
I feel like it might just be the fact that it's down to a 2-2 in the grand final, and the nerves might actually be kicking in for VortiX, because he still hasn't added in this wooden fortress. Considering how many villages do we have on wood here? It looked like 17, 18 villages on wood for VortiX, and that's a huge amount of villages that you're potentially losing. Look at that. What a great counter you are, Drongo. I'm so impressed with your counting abilities, said other Drongo. Thanks, other Drongo. Yeah, but I mean, at this point in time, the wooden fortress is just losing out on so much potential resources that could be coming in, and they pay themselves off so quickly. I think that's the part that hurts the most.
Yeah, exactly. They pay for their price so much, and you see, VortiX wanted to be aggressive. He prioritized the blacksmith, the siege engineering, the battering rams over that tower. There is going to be a chop through coming in here for VortiX, so he isn't really concerned about those walls coming up. The concern for him should be that there is 19 horsemen out here, and last time I checked on that UI, I see 4 spearmen and 4 knights. That seems to be insufficient to deal with 20 horsemen, especially that there is a camel to debuff the cavalry with.
Yeah, I love the way that he's just got the single camel in there as well. 22 horsemen and just a single camel archer is going to be there to debuff those knights when they do eventually come in. But look at the way the horsemen are beginning to posture, picking up reinforcements undoubtedly when they come out. And indeed, that's exactly what they're going to be doing. A bit of a surround potentially going to open up here as the units continue to fall back towards that forward base. And now a bit of a trap potentially being laid.
I think he's going for a boar. Yeah, I mean, that's the prime target for him. He's trying to cut off the opponent from the boar, hit that forward base, but now it looks like he changes direction, and this is the perfect battle here for MarineLorD. He's got the critical mass. Spearmen are nowhere to be found. The few spearmen that we have on the battlefield are hitting up the archers and not the horsemen, and just look at that slaughter. That's the Abbasid swarm coming in here, and all that army from VortiX is going down the drain here. Decisive victory for MarineLorD in this battle.
It is absolute insanity to me that this game has been turned upon its head. MarineLorD coming in and demonstrating how good he is in this matchup, how ahead of the curve he is when it comes to just his knowledge of the build orders, and most importantly, how nervous VortiX must be to have forgotten his wooden fortress on that wood line. I mean, we're sitting at 14 minutes. Normally that wooden fortress gets added in. I think it comes in at about 4 minutes 30. Typically this wooden fortress back here in the base. So he has missed out on, I would estimate, I'm going to go with like 2,000 wood here. It's a lot of wood that he has missed out on just as a consequence of not having that wooden fortress. But now continuing to push back the enemy forces. Spears finally coming out against MarineLorD, but at the same time, you can see that VortiX is going to be struggling with regard to the food economy. Villagers having to head back inside the town center. All the berry bushes are going to be idle. And now a battering ram begins to move in from VortiX. But at the same time, I mean, he's so far behind when it comes to the economy. Take a look at the villager lead right now. VortiX on 41, MarineLorD 67.
And the thing is that MarineLorD is now launching a counterattack inside his base, and your entire production is at the middle of the map. You have absolutely nothing to defend back at home with, and I think MarineLorD's eco lead now is big enough to facilitate a production that is just able to stall his push out. That mess isn't looking huge right now for VortiX. We're looking at 12 spearmen, 21 archers, some of them not even on this battlefield. And you see the horsemen are now jumping on that wood line, and with no wooden fortress out there, nowhere to go for those villagers. Disaster left and right for VortiX in this game.
Yeah, it's really not looking pretty for him right now. All those villagers managing to make it inside the town center. The horsemen just turning towards the town center and saying, hey, we're just going to start attacking you instead. Because you're holding all those villagers inside, but now the horseman back towards the base here. He doesn't even have all the horsemen that he's got up here in this position. Villagers also going to be coming out. He's got so many villagers. Let me in! Let me in! You can see the way that they move towards those archers, but now turning their attention towards the battering rams instead. You can see the villagers got to be careful here. They managed to start repairing that town center. We don't have any insufficient wood issues with MarineLorD. He's got 1,400 in the bank here. He's going to be absolutely fine, and somehow he still manages to hold on to this town center, but it does look like he's lost a lot of forces. You can see he somehow kept all of the horsemen still here in the base of his opponent, and it looks like the military count's starting to even up a little bit. What is going on in this game?
Well, probably what's going on is that MarineLorD just threw away a lot of cavalry to kill villagers, because while that group of cavalry left the base of VortiX, you could see for a brief moment a trail of dead bodies. Look at the amount of villagers that we have for VortiX, 32 versus 71. I get the feel that MarineLorD needs to survive one more push, and it is game over for VortiX. Oh boy, we were going into this game here saying that this is such a favorable matchup for VortiX, and potentially this is what he was gambling upon with the civilization selection in the previous game. And I asked you the question, is it worth potentially losing a game here just so that you have a favorable matchup in game number 5? Seems like not, at least in this one.
Yeah, I guess we've found out the hard way, and the VortiX has as well, because he's getting completely cleaned up in it. It is good game, ladies and gentlemen. MarineLorD is your victor in the grand finals. This best of 5 has been closed out with a reverse sweep by the man, the myth, the MarineLorD, beating VortiX 3-2.
Boy, oh boy, was this a crazy set here. And in the end, VortiX had the civilization out here, he had the strategy on his mind, just the small details going wrong, and really, I would love to know what went wrong with this for him. Like, where was the moment where he forgot about that tower? Because that's just such an integral part of this build. Maybe he wanted to go for a ram first, then drop the tower, and then he just completely forget about it. But as you pointed out numerous times, that was the main crippling factor, and you said he was missing out on a ton of wood with that. I would use a different word as well. He was missing out on a lot of momentum with that.
Yeah, that was exactly it. I mean, there were just... The best way that I would like to think about it is you take that archer mass that he had during those fights. Let's say, 20 archers or whatever it is. Without that wooden fortress, all of a sudden, that archer mass is just 20 archers where it could be 25 archers. And it's going to subsequently affect all the reinforcements that he's got throughout that fight. So he loses a lot of tempo. So look, if he had that wooden fortress, would have he won the last game? Probably not. Would have he increased his chances to win? Yeah, definitely would have.